Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring the Heroes and Hardships core rulebook, early access version. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review featuring this universal RPG system, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about skill checks, power levels, modifiers and situational rules. In the description of this video you are also going to find links to the Kickstarter that is about to begin this October 4th. You're also going to find links to the website, to the Tetsubo section of the website. That's an upcoming setting for Heroes and Hardships. You're also going to find links to my reviews of the Quick Start guide and the Wallace campaign setting, based on the life and exploits of William Wallace. So please check it out. Now let's continue. Concerning skill checks, when players form a dice pool based on an attribute and a skill, this is called a skill check. The bulk of rolls in Heroes and Hardships are skill checks. These skill checks can be unopposed or opposed. When players make rolls against challenges that are not directly opposed by another entity, they are considered unopposed. Unopposed checks must be equal to or greater than a difficulty set by the game master. The difficulty is represented by a target number. Target number is often abbreviated as TN. Skill checks where two forces are actively working against each other require an opposed roll. Both sides roll the relevant dice, and whomever has the highest roll is successful. In the case of a tie, the participant with the highest skill rank succeeds with 0 levels of success. If there is still a tie, compare attribute scores. If after these two steps there is no winner, roll again. Now, concerning maximum dice pools, each skill check has a maximum number of dice that can be rolled. You may roll a maximum number of dice equal to double the governing attribute score on any skill check. Any benefits added that increase the number of rolled dice to a sum greater than double a character's governing attribute are converted. Every 2 dice that exceed this maximum are converted to kept dice. Odd-numbered rolled dice above the maximum grant a +3 to skill checks instead of an extra kept die. You may never add more kept dice than double the skill check's governing attribute score. Anything greater than this grants a +3 to the skill check. Now, concerning power levels, each game in Heroes and Hardships is assigned a power level. The power level represents how powerful characters are by giving them greater resources in character creation. Power levels are sometimes abbreviated as PL. In PL1, this is power level simulating gritty and realistic campaigns, regardless of fantastical elements. Player characters are a cut above the regular person. When it comes to PL2, player characters have greater powers and can affect their surroundings to a great degree. Player characters are vastly superior than the average person. PL3 concerns great gifts of power that are bestowed to player characters that utterly dwarf lesser creatures. So whether you want to run a low fantasy campaign, a far future campaign, or a galactic superhero campaign, this book has you covered. Now, concerning difficulties, each PL has a different set of target numbers for skill checks. When a rule references a difficulty category like mundane, challenging, hard, desperate, or impossible, use the associated TN for that game's PL. PL target numbers are meant to scale with the competence of the player characters. The difficulties are personal to the player characters themselves. The question is, what is challenging for the player character? The question is not, what is challenging for the world? Difficulties should not be compared across PLs. An Archmage is an Archmage in either PL1 or PL3. The Archmage's relative power means nothing. Their abilities are only relevant within the PL of the game they are a part of. Now, when it comes to the Mundane Difficulty, this is different in that it does not change between PLs. Tasks that fall under the Mundane category are those that require no special training. They are usually fairly easy for anyone to perform, regardless of their training and gifts. The Game Master may not require skill checks for these tasks, but if they do, they may use the Mundane TN of 10 for all power levels. Now, when it comes to levels of success and failure, sometimes it is important to know how well a skill check did versus a target number. This is true for things such as combat or any other scenario the game master can envision. For the level of success, subtract the TN from the roll. The result is the level of success. For the level of failure, subtract the skill check from the TN. The result is the level of failure. Let's talk about modifiers. There are times when a roll is modified by adding or subtracting from the skill check's total. These static modifiers can be applied in two ways. You have pre-roll modifiers. A pre-roll modifier aids or hinders characters in succeeding their task. Pre-roll modifiers add to or subtracts from the total of a roll before success is determined. When it comes to post-roll modifiers, they modify the total of a roll after success is determined. This could be a positive or negative modifier. A post-roll modifier determines how well a character succeeds in their task. If a skill check fails, any post-roll modifiers are moot and discarded. Let's talk about exploding dice. Often, when a player rolls a 10 on a skill check, that die is said to explode. When a die explodes, the player rolls again and adds the extra die to his total already rolled. If the die is a 10 again, the player continues to roll until the die is not a 10. There are some instances where D10s do not explode. Some rolls on tables, for instance, will not explode. Those situations will be detailed in their specific sections. If a roll does not indicate if it explodes or not, it is assumed that a 10 does explode on that roll. A player or game master can make an attempt at any skill check, even if the character has no skill ranks in that skill. These are called untrained skill checks. When rolling a 10 on untrained skill checks, the 10 does not explode. Let's talk about bonus sets. Because Heroes and Hardships is designed to scale between power levels, different abilities and such, will contain different bonuses to characters based on the PL of their game. When something refers to bonus sets, note the PL or power level and the level of the bonus set and apply the bonuses indicated on a table. All static modifiers are pre-rolled modifiers. Let's talk about situational rules. Assisting is performed by one character to help another character. If more than one character wants to help, they should use group skill checks instead. The character assisting adds one bonus set level to the skill check per rank that character has in the skill being checked. If they have 0 ranks, use the level 0 bonus set. It is at the game master's discretion if a skill check can be assisted. The maximum bonus set is level 3, regardless of the rank of helper. Characters may make group skill checks when the game master allows it. Groups allow multiple characters to use actions together with a single skill check. This is typically used outside of conflicts, but can be used when action points are counted in certain circumstances. Groups elect a primary member for any task and that member makes the skill check. The game master may give benefits or hardships to these skill checks based on the situation. In combat, forming groups is typically done with the interact action. The group must wait for the slowest member's turn to act, which they do in unison. Now, when it comes to pulling back, under certain circumstances, a player may wish to keep less dice than they could normally. This is called pulling back. A player may pull back on any skill check, but only skill checks. In order to pull back, the player or game master must announce it before the roll. When they do, they must remove kept dice up to their will score. A character must always keep one die. Concerning extended skill checks, performing tasks that take a long time is an opportunity to use extended skill checks, which consist of multiple ordinary skill checks over a period of time. Both the number and frequency of skill checks in an extended skill check are up to the game master's discretion. There may be one skill check per day, one per hour, etc. The game master multiplies the number of skill checks by the difficulty to determine the extended task difficulty. The character now has the number of skill checks established by the game master to equal the extended task difficulty. If the total of skill check results equals or exceeds the extended task difficulty before the maximum skill checks determined by the game master, the task is completed early. If the characters do not succeed in the allotted amount of time, the game master may either allow them to continue until they do succeed, or present a complication where they must start over. This depends entirely on the circumstances of the situation. Now, when it comes to rounding, unless the rules specify otherwise, if the result of a roll or calculation is not a whole number, then round down to the nearest whole number. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to talk about character creation. As you can see, the dice pool roll and keep mechanic makes for some easy or fast task resolution, but at the same time, there can be some over-the-top results because of the exploding dice, even if you are playing at the lowest power level. Thank you for watching this part of the review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.